We're here with Rick Parsons, president and founder of the Vintage Indy Racing Group.
Well, first, Lou, welcome to my playroom. This is where I have a lot of fun working on vintage race cars. And of course, we do vintage Indy cars, but today I happen to be sitting in front of a vintage Can-Am car. So we do all kinds of cars here. I love to race, and consequently, the reason for starting the Vintage Indy Racing Group.
So let's talk about the Vintage Indy Racing Group. How did that all start?
Well, I've been involved in various groups that organize specific cars for vintage racing. I'm vice president of the Formula 5000 group. And there's been a lack of organization of vintage Indy cars to race at the major vintage racing events. You know, we had sporadically cars showing up, pitting far apart from each other, no organized group to bring these cars together.
So you saw the need. This is what Vintage Indy Racing Group is all about, is about filling that void and getting everybody together and kind of having the community of vintage Indy cars all together and having a good time with it.
Well, certainly that, but you got to remember that Indy cars from the mid-60s, in the 80s and beyond, were the premier road racing cars in North America. And we had Formula One in Europe, you know, they came here once in a while. But the Indy cars, especially for road racing, they were the premier cars.
Yes.
And there's really been no organization to bring these cars out and get them racing together, share the excitement of these cars, the history, the love for them. So somebody needed to put this group together.
So how about for someone like myself? I'm not an Indy car driver, clearly an enthusiast about Indy cars. It's so much fun. And how does someone like myself get involved with vintage Indy racing if you don't have a car?
Well, get a car.
Okay.
That's the easiest thing. Of course, we have a lot of supporters that can join and come to the events and see the cars and join us for meals and refreshments. But if you really love these cars and you're in a position to do it, certainly right now, because there's been a lack of organization, there's some cars out there that are pretty reasonably priced. And once you get a car, you have to go through it and make sure it's safe to race. And then we have specific, if you don't have a big racing background or experience, we have a program to help drivers get up to speed, you might say.
Okay.
And you know, acquire a license so that they can run these cars in vintage racing. Now, you can often run these cars on the oval tracks where there's events with ovals where they don't race, but you just tour the cars around the track. And so if that's your interest, if that's as much as you want to do, then you can just buy a car and get it safely ready to run, and you can drive them at these, we'll call it touring events. And some events, there's both racing and touring. For instance, we have an event coming up at Indianapolis in June where you can just tour the Indianapolis 500 track, drive the track in a real Indy car, or you can do that and race in a road race event there. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to enjoy these cars. If nothing else, you can just bring them to the events and show them off.
Let's talk about, you mentioned the cars, let's talk about the safety aspect. You know, here we have work behind us, and I know that safety is a huge piece to this and has really been kind of the catalyst for car companies themselves to improve their cars through racing. So what's the safety aspect of it, Rick, that you'd like to share with the listeners?
The safety that's connected with being part of a group. First of all, if you have a car, you're going to try to get it ready and make it safe. Yes. But as part of our group, when you go to an event and there's 20 cars and there's 15 or 20 mechanics that know these cars inside and out, and we have a safety inspection of our own, not to mention the people who are putting on the event. But we know these cars, and we know what makes them safe, and we know where the problems are. And by being part of a group, you have the ability to be surrounded by a number of people that can help identify not only safety issues, but problems you might have with your car and be able to help you with it.
So it really becomes a mastermind group of the masterminds from Indy, and they all gather together to successfully help each other race.
Well, absolutely, but you got to remember it's a lot of fun too. This is not all just get your hands dirty and work hard. This is about having a fun social interaction while you're being involved with the things you love.
Let's talk about that because I'm all about the fun. That's the whole purpose. So tell us about, a final thought of what you really like to have as far as the message to the social aspect of the group and having fun.
It's always a lot of fun if you're surrounded by people that love the same things you love.
Sure.
But I think the other side of it is if you go to a race and you're not with people you know, people you've seen before or run with before, then it's a little more difficult to be really sociable. And I think the additional aspect is that once you have this camaraderie with people, it's much more comfortable to bring your spouse, your family, other people that, because you're with friends.
Right.
So it just enhances even the family aspect of going to an event where they may not always be comfortable going to an event if they don't know anybody, but if they're with a group of 20 people that have similar cars and they've been together before, then it becomes a real social event.
That sounds like a great opportunity and a great fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing Vintage Indy Racing Group really excel and get new members. So thanks so much, Rick, for the interview and the time.
Come and join the fun.